We are now live.
Welcome, everybody, to the Asheville Transit Committee. We meet on the third Tuesday of the month, and we're meeting virtually from 5 to 7 p.m. The Transit Committee is a volunteer citizen board designed to offer input and guidance to the Asheville Transit System and the City Council. We do not set or change routes, control Asheville's transit budget, or have authority over staff, drivers, or the management company. We are a group of citizens like you who are here to ensure community concerns are taken into consideration when setting public transit policy. I will be reading the agenda as it is listed today, as it's written. And right now, we'll go ahead and take a roll call. Vice Chair Sandy Aldridge. She's muted. We can't hear you, Sandy.
The simple things, the simple things. Yes, Harvey,
There
I'm here
you go.
and glad to see everyone today.
Thank you, Sandy. Georgia Burks.
I'm here.
Thank you for coming today, Georgia.
Thank you.
Colin Kenton.
I'm here.
Thank you, Colin. Bill Loftus. Philip Lucero. And Brandon Oliver. Brandon said he would be joining us late. He had a family emergency. I can understand him. He has kids at the house. And he'll join us in a little bit. At the present time, we do not, let me see, 1, 2, 3. We do not have a quorum. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yes, we do. We do have a quorum. I made 4. So we'll go ahead down the list. Hopefully everybody has read the agenda. And we'll read the agenda as it is. November 15th, 2022 agenda, review and approval. May I have a motion to accept the minutes dated November 15th?
I'll motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Coleman. All right, we'll have a vote. What say ye, Sandy Aldridge?
I say aye.
Georgia Burks?
Aye.
Colin Kenton?
Aye.
And Harvey, yay. October minutes reviewed and approved. Minutes for October 18th, 2022. Minutes review and approval. May I have a motion to accept the minutes dated October 18th?
I'll motion.
May I have a second, please? May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Cole. It doesn't matter if you say it again. The minutes, we'll have a vote on that. Sandy Aldridge,
Aye.
Georgia Burks,
Aye.
Colin Kenton,
Aye.
Harvey says yay. The minutes are approved. We don't have anyone in the queue for public comments on this day. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Amber for city staff update and introductions.
Great. I wanted to thank you all for attending today. And today I wanted to introduce to you Catherine Ladnier. Catherine, are you on the meeting?
Yes, I am.
Great. Catherine is our new transit projects coordinator. Today is her second day. She will be replacing Haley, who is going to continue to be in our transportation department, just not in transit. Haley will be an urban planner within the department. But more to Catherine. Catherine was a planning assistant in McDowell County, and she just received her master's in geography with an emphasis in planning. We're really excited to have Catherine on our team, and this is just kind of initiation by fire today. She's been involved in orientation yesterday, and she's been spending most of the day with Haley on onboarding. So Catherine, please feel free to say a few words or add any information, but we're really happy to have her here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. And Amber and Haley and everyone I've met today has just been just so welcoming and respectful. And I feel like everyone just wants to work well together. And I appreciate that environment. And it was just a wonderful day, regardless of the weather. It was wonderful. So I'm very excited.
Well, we're happy to have her on board and just excited to be full staffed within our department once again. So please be on lookout. I know Catherine's going to be writing some routes this week and next, and she'll probably be working with our operations team as well as folks within the community and our partners just to discuss initiatives and projects. So thank you. We will be sad to see Haley not within our department for a while, but she'll still be with us during the transition. So Haley, thank you so much for all that you've done.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on. Let's see.
And we'll move on to transit technology swiftly.
Yes, the next item of business. We moved this presentation first just due to some time constraints, and I wanted to share more information on how technology impacts our services and our planning. We have used Swiftly software since 2018, and it provides our real-time transit data and information services that are just integral to our daily operations. We are in the process of working on a new contract with Swiftly through our NASPO agreement. You will be seeing this on our December City Council meeting agenda items. But today, we just wanted to talk to you a little bit more about kind of some of the things that help make ART go. And Summer Greenstein is our Swiftly Customer Success Manager, and she is here to present information on our current ART services and successes to date. And Haley will be discussing our upcoming goals using the software. So I want to thank you for being here today, Summer.
Thanks so much, Amber. Hi, everyone. Let me just start my screen share. And I hope I do this right. I think this is it. I'm not used to working. Oh, you know what? I think I need to make it, sorry about this. I need to make it full screen slideshow, and then I can present. I think this will work, hopefully. Okay. Can everyone see that now, full screen?
It looks good.
I can't actually, okay, thanks. I can't actually see presenters, but
Thanks so much for
having me, Amber. I'm going to keep this presentation kind of high level. And Haley, how much time do I have? Or Amber, how much time? When should I plan to wrap up? Just because I want to leave time if there are questions at the end.
I think you can just follow your own pace organically. We have till 7 today.
All right. So thank you for the introduction, Amber. That was a very great summary of what what Swiftly does. We are basically a big data company that works with transit agencies, and I'll go into a little bit more about what we do with Asheville. So I'll just give you a brief introduction of myself and what I do for Swiftly. As Amber said, talk a little bit about the work we've done with the agency, and then I'll move on to some continued partnership goals. And I think Haley, you're going to talk a little bit about that as well. And then I'll leave some time for questions at the end if anyone has questions. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a customer success manager at Swiftly, and basically that means it's my job to help all of the agencies I work with, like Asheville, gets the most out of the Swiftly software that they have. So I'm also available for issues that come up, troubleshooting, but really my job is to make sure that you're getting the most out of the systems that you've paid for. And just I'm a transportation planner by training. Just a little bit about Swiftly as a company. We call ourselves a connected transit platform. We used to say we were a big data platform for transit agencies. I'll go into a little bit more in the next slide about what we think of as a connected transit platform, but we're used by over 125 agencies across 8 countries. So on what a connected transit platform is, at its most basic, what Swiftly does is really connect transit agencies to their data in various ways. So you can see on the left, in the middle is the Swiftly logo, and on the left are 3 data sources that Swiftly takes in, and we're able to use that data and really connect your data to different groups of users. So we're taking in basically 3 sources. So your static GTFS, so that's your schedule, things like where your stops are located, all of that information that really goes into building a schedule-based service. The assignment, which is really what the bus is supposed to be doing at a given time. So if a bus is supposed to be on the W1 at 9 o'clock, that's its assignment. And then we're taking in real-time vehicle location information. So we're getting GPS information from your vehicles. And we're able to take that information, give it to passengers in the form of the real-time bus arrival times. So the times that are going out to your e-signage at the ART station. We're also able to push that data into some kind of on-time performance reporting tools that Asheville uses. And then we're able to connect your vehicles through a product called Onboard App, which I'll talk about in the next slide. An Onboard App will give operators instantaneous feedback if they're running early, on time, or late. So this is what Onboard App looks like, and this is on all buses. So Swiftly doesn't produce the tablet, but we produce the software. And this tablet is it's placed kind of overhead operators, and they're able to see, this is at a time point when they should be departing that time point. It'll also show if, once they're actually driving on the route, if they're running early, on time, or late. On this tablet, you're also able to see upcoming time points. And this is always updating this information. This is just a timeline. I'll go through this kind of quickly, but a brief history of Asheville's relationship with Swiftly. So we started working with you in 2018. We were awarded the contract through an RFP, and that was replacing NextBus. In 2020, Asheville was featured on the Swiftly website as part of a case study on one of our tools called Runtimes, which was used to make adjustments to schedules. And then March of 2021 is when Asheville started using the Onboard App device that I spoke about earlier. And then coming up to this year, a few of us on the Swiftly team had a site visit, which was really great. I met Haley, LaShawn, and some other folks at the agency. And we were able to ride buses and really see onboard app being used. And that brings us to today, which we met last month to kind of have a sort of an executive meeting to talk about, you know, what we worked on together and what the agency's goals are going forward. So a little bit about just kind of successes to date. I did want to start with just kind of a conversation about accurate real-time passenger information, why it's important, and how that relates to your agency. So, because this is one of the products that Swiftly produces, you can't really see it, but we produce the real-time feed. So the feed that says when buses are going to be at their stops, and that information is going out to Transit app. It's going to your electronic signage at your stops. That's what Swiftly produces. So we call it real-time passenger information, and we pride ourselves on producing a very accurate passenger feed because of these reasons. It can lead to an increase in transit ridership. It'll improve passenger satisfaction if, you know, the passenger knows when the bus is going to get there, or they look at their app and they see the bus is going to get there in 5 minutes, and it does get there in 5 minutes. That's just going to increase confidence in the system. And also having accurate information, passenger information, it reduces perceived wait times. A little bit about how we produce that real-time feed. We have an algorithm that takes these factors into consideration. So as I mentioned, we have the GPS information from the bus. We know where the bus is. We know what the bus should be doing because we know the schedule. And then we also know what the bus was doing along the route. You know, several stops ago, we know if the bus was late at 2 stops ago, it'll probably be a little bit late at the downstream stop. So we were able to take in all these different factors into our algorithm, and that's how we produce that real-time bus predictions. And how we sort of measure the accuracy of our predictions, because this is tied into what we consider to be a success with Asheville, is looking at predictions at various points in the trip planning process. So we kind of measure that accuracy based on various time buckets. So if you're looking at if you're looking at your app, Transit app, when let's say the bus is predicted to be at the stop at 9 o'clock, and at 8:30 you look at Transit app and you want to know when the bus is going to be there. So 30-minute bucket, we say that within this time band, so you can see like the purple dashed line, so 60 seconds before 9 o'clock, and then 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. If the bus gets within that window, if it arrives at that window, we would consider that an accurate prediction. So you can see the window sort of narrow the closer you actually get to needing to catch your bus. So that threshold of error sort of narrows the sooner the closer you are to actually catching your bus. Because when you're planning your trip, if the bus time is 6 minutes off, 30 minutes before you need the bus, that probably doesn't matter as much as if the bus is, 3 minutes away. You want that bus prediction to be accurate. If you're walking to the stop at 8:57, so 3 minutes before the bus is supposed to be there, you want that margin of error to be pretty tight. So this is just what the time buckets are, and the margin of error to be considered an accurate prediction across these different time buckets. And how this relates to Asheville's predictions are, you can see within the 0 to 3 minute time bucket and the 3 to 6 minute time bucket. So you can see on the left, when a bus is predicted to be 0 to 3 minutes away, Asheville's prediction accuracy in 2021 78.5% of those predictions within that time bucket were accurate. So the prediction said the bus was going to be there at a certain time, and the bus actually showed up within that time. So you can see the numbers for 2021 and then 2022, it did go up a few points. So if you kind of expand that out to all of the bus prediction, the bus arrival time predictions that happened within this time range, you know, that could have impacted a lot of trips. So that many more passengers were getting accurate information. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about just service reliability, so on-time performance. And I believe the you can see this graph at the bottom of the screen, which is just showing within a given time period the percentage of trips that were on time, early, or late. So you're able to get this reporting from Swiftly. I think you get these reports monthly. That's coming from a Swiftly tool called On-Time Performance. And I just broke down some numbers looking at on-time performance from this year compared to 2019. So the first bullet, overall on-time performance increased by about 18.7%. So in 2019, it was 62%. Now you're up to about 73.6%. Believe these numbers, and that's for the whole year. So 73.6 on-time performance for 2022. And then also late arrivals reduced. So from 32% in 2019 to about 16.3% for this year. So that's a big drop. They almost halved since 2019. And then I also just wanted to point out the early departures from time points dropping. I looked at before usage of onboard app to the year after onboard app. So you can see they started using onboard app in March of 2021. So I looked at the year prior to March 2021, and you can see the early departures dropped by about 32%. So 14% to about 10% for this year. So as far as what's next with Swiftly and Asheville, I wanted just to talk a little bit about a product called Service Adjustments, which is really used for entering any kind of service change that's going to come up suddenly. So detours, cancellations, closing a stop, all of those kinds of service disruptions, you really want to communicate that out to passengers. And our Service Adjustments product, this is a screenshot of the Swiftly dashboard, and you can see the red line is like, let's say you were closing those stops because of a detour, and then the blue line would be the new path. This is not Asheville Systems, it's just an example. But all of those closed stops because of a detour are going to flow, that information is going to flow to the various places where our data goes. So if a customer is looking at transit app, they will know that those stops are now closed because you've entered them as being closed through Service Adjustments. This also improves the accuracy of the predictions because our algorithm will now know that the bus is not serving those stops, the bus is on a detour, we know the length of the detour, so we're able to kind of recalculate where the bus is going to be when. So being able to communicate those changes to passengers is really critical for providing good service. And also all of this information is logged internally, so all internal staff can see where there's a detour, which stops are closed, those kinds of service changes. And this is just an example of what it looks like in transit app. So you can see the on the screen on the left, the crossed out arrival times. That means that transit app now knows, because we've made the changes in Swiftly, that those buses are not coming in 10 minutes and 13 minutes. So those crossed out trips mean that the service was canceled. So this is just another example of what it looks like in Swiftly. So you can draw a detour shape. And then on the right here is what we call our action log. So this is just going to be a record of all of the service changes. So whether a trip was canceled, whether there was a detour, whether a stop was closed, it's all tracked in the action log. So customer service will have insight into, what the current service is. Another product is, Rider Alerts is the actual customer facing text that passengers will see if there's a service change, like a stop closure or a detour. It's what they will read in transit apps. So it's kind of hard to see here, but it usually shows up as this like triangle with an exclamation point. And then if you're in transit app, you just tap on that and it will explain what the service change is. And you would enter this information through Swiftly, and then Swiftly will automatically update transit app or any other passenger facing app that we're integrated with. Just some more examples of what it looks like in transit app on the left. So you can kind of see it says detour affecting this stop. So that is coming from, that text is what you would enter into Swiftly, and then it'll get pushed out to transit app or Google Maps. And then continued partnership goals. Haley, did you want to take this one?
Sure, either way. Yeah, I can take it and you can add any maybe details or context. So we just wanted to communicate to you all some of our main partnership goals with Swiftly moving forward, because I think a lot of these goals might seem a little bit in the weeds, but really they probably align with a lot of the goals that I hear communicated from you all in terms of providing good customer service and making sure that we're just continually improving the actual baseline service of our system. So to just move through this a little bit, one of the things that we want to do is to identify or fix any issues with onboard app on interline routes, which is the routes where, it might start as the N3, but then when it comes back to the transit center, it turns into the W6 route, for example. We've heard from drivers and have experienced on the back end that sometimes the switch is not happening on the onboard app, which can be confusing for drivers. It can create inaccurate information for riders and on the back end. So that's something that we're looking into and trying to make sure that we're making that as easy and correct as possible. Our next overarching goal is reducing inaccurate arrival predictions and therefore reducing related rider complaints. Again, just the more that we can work on making sure that things are accurate on the onboard app, that, we're having good GPS service connectivity, we know where the bus actually is, that will continue to create more accurate arrival times for riders and increase service. We also want to look into reducing early departures for the last trip of the service period. This is something that we haven't really looked into in the last couple of years, but with Swiftly's capabilities, they provide a good platform to be able to look into these last trips of a route of the day. We know that sometimes drivers will assume that nobody's on their route, or they're tired, they're wanting to get home, so maybe they're leaving early. And while we sympathize with that, we also want to make sure that we're still following the scheduled service. So that's an analysis that we plan to do in the future. We also want to create a second GPS source for the bus to improve our our accuracy and our arrival time, and just to have a backup in case our current GPS feed fails for any reason. As Summer mentioned, we're getting that GPS feed through the onboard app, or more accurately through the tablets that the onboard app is on. And we're going to continue using that, but we want to create a second source. And so we use a security camera system called Lytx. I don't actually know how it's pronounced, but we use them, and they actually have GPS feed, like location built within their system. So we're going to make sure that they are synced up with our Swiftly platform, so that we just have another feed to pull from. We want to make sure that we're doing continual staff training, so that we can better utilize the Swiftly platform and all the tools that they offer, both on the city planning side and also from the art staff, the customer service they're providing, the maintenance team, looking up when they're needing to pull a bus from a route because it's having issues. And Swiftly has been great at providing those trainings and working with us to make sure we know what we're doing out there. So then the final goal, and probably the main driver of all the other goals, is just to maintain our current on-time performance of 72% system-wide, but also really strive to continually make improvements to our system and to our schedule, so that we can have even better service for the riders. Our goal, this is not super concrete, but I think aspirationally around 80 to 85%, we would be really happy if we were able to get to that point. So I think that's all I had for the goals. Summer, did you want to add anything to any of those, or?
No, that was great. I think the only thing I would add to on the point about the inaccurate arrival predictions, and then the customer complaints that come out of that, very very understandable, and I'm sure, when you on the customer side are expecting the bus to be there, and then it shows up earlier than the app said it was going to be there, and you missed the bus because it was early. Like, that's a very understandable, frustrating customer complaint. But I was just going to say that we're on the Swiftly side, like, the more we can work with you to identify when those predictions are wrong, or when the sign is displaying something that's not right, which we learned when we were on site, which was so helpful. The more we can kind of tweak the back end to have the predictions be as accurate as possible. But also on the operations side, once you're able to enter into Swiftly when services change, so if there's a detour, if a stop is closed, that'll just make the predictions that much better, and that'll flow to passengers, so they are getting not just that they know that their stop is going to be closed, but that stop closure will have downstream effects that the predictions will then take into account, and the algorithm will update accordingly. So
okay. I can add on that note, some of you all have in the past sent us examples of, hey, I just tried I missed my bus because it said it was coming in 5 minutes, but it actually came in 2. And you've sent us that information. This is like an open invitation to send us all of those things, and to not, I mean, you probably don't, but hopefully don't feel bad about it at all. It actually helps us to continually improve this and figure out what's going on. Sometimes there's, certain circumstances that are outside of the algorithm's control or anything, but sending that information to us is very helpful.
Yes, especially, and timestamp it so we know, if you have a screenshot of I know you can't do that after the situation has already happened. You can't go back and take a screenshot, but the more you're able to I don't know if these complaints are going to be routed to you anymore, Haley, but I'm guessing not. But the more you're able to add an actual time, or date and a time, and as much information as possible, then on the Swiftly side, we can do some investigation. But yeah, basically, the more information you can provide, the better.
Like I said, open invitation to send as many complaints to Catherine as you want.
And I know Colin has his hand up, but I also want to add that one of our goals is to just provide quick, consistent information out to our writers and to the general public. And this is just another tool in some of these adjustments that we aren't being able to use that we aren't using right now, but we will allow us to get the word out quicker. Currently, there's like a multi-step process to get service alerts. This will just provide instant feedback and instant messaging to those shops and to those routes that are impacted by service alerts, construction, stop, detours, a water main breaks, items like that. Harvey, I'll let you call on Colin, but we just appreciate all the input on it.
Okay, Colin is in the queue.
Hi. So, got a couple questions with regards to the operation. And the first is more in general with the interaction with the transit app. So I often get some odd notifications in the afternoon that will basically tell me I've missed the bus when in fact I haven't. And when looking at the transit app, it sometimes shows the bus and sometimes doesn't show the bus. Like the bus disappears off the screen, and I'll get a notification from the app that says, you better hurry, you're about to miss the bus. And I look at my watch and I'm like, no, I'm right on time. And then I get there and it says, you missed the bus. And I'm like, no, I'm right on time. And sure enough, the bus comes. So for whatever reason, the bus is losing its call. And so I notice this in the afternoon when I'm trying to go home quite often. And then early in the morning, if I'm trying to catch the very first bus of the day, and my stop in the morning is, I guess, at the very limits of N1. So I often find that the bus, same thing. It's like the bus doesn't show up until it all of a sudden just magically really appears in person. And in the transit app, I've come to not really rely on the transit app because it gives me incorrect information. So there's that. The other issue is question I have, and I guess this question may be more for the city and not necessarily Swiftly, but how are the drivers, how do I put it? How are they encouraged to be on time? Because I would say an early driver is more problematic than a late driver, because if the driver shows up a couple minutes early and you end up missing the bus because the driver's early, that's an hour wait for most people. If the driver shows up 5 minutes late, okay, you're 5 minutes late, but you still catch the bus. So it seems like early drivers are more problematic with people catching the bus. And then my third point is, so this app is somewhere displayed for the driver to see constantly. So they're constantly seeing whether they're on time or they're late or they're early. How much does that put pressure on them to constantly stay on time? And is it pushing them to maybe go a little faster? because I notice in the afternoon, there are some drivers that seem to be in a bit of a hurry all the time. And when the bus goes around a curvy section of road and they're in a hurry, people get tossed around quite a bit. Even though that may be a perfectly fine speed in your personal car, it's not a good speed on the bus. And I'm wondering how much they're feel pressured to be, oh my gosh, I'm 30 seconds late. I'm going to get penalized because I'm running 30 seconds late. Or, if there's some influence in pushing them to go faster than they really should be going. It could just be the driver just likes going fast, which I think is a problem. But just want to make sure there's not some sort of outside influence.
Yeah, I
There
can
you
maybe, thanks, Colin. I can maybe speak to the second and third point, and then maybe Summer, if you can, I don't know if you have any thoughts on the transit app inaccuracies.
Yeah, I can try to handle that one. I can also, Haley, when you're finished, I just make a point about I don't have a visual of what it looks like as far as the on-time performance. This is just showing the holding at time points, but I can go ahead, Haley.
Okay. So I guess for your understanding, we don't currently have, or we don't pay for the capability to look at individual driver on-time performance. So that means that we don't take the approach of like penalization. We just don't agree with that. We don't think it's as effective as incentives. So to that point of like, are they driving very quickly because they're worried about getting in trouble? That's not something that's happening in terms of like them getting in trouble or anything like that. On the other side of things, for incentives, since we can't see individual driver performance, unless we like really get down and look in the weeds, we can like figure that out based on who was driving that day, what route, what times. But in general, we just look at the system as a whole and how it's performing. And when they are performing over a certain threshold, drivers, I believe, are receiving incentives, which I think come in the form, LaShawn, you can speak to this if you're on. I think it's like a $5 gift card. And this is something that we have brought up again recently within staff to think if our incentives are enough, if there's more that we can do, and if there's like a way that we can, I guess, revamp this program to keep advising.
Yeah, it's if they make the on-time performance anything above the 72%, we split the bonus with RTPDev and the drivers. So it just depends on what it is or how much over the 72%.
And that 72% comes from our contract with RTPDev. They're supposed to provide on-time performance up to 72%. And then after that, there's this bonus that LaShawn mentioned, which trickles down to the drivers.
Okay. Sandy, I'll get to you in a minute. I was in the queue before you. I'll get you in a minute. Haley, I was wanting to ask the question. Are we adding another app to what we already have? I have that little squiggly line, looks like an S for catching a bus. And then at the beginning of the tutorial, I saw something like a teardrop. Was that the Swiftly teardrop or whatever?
Yeah. So riders don't need to add that to their phone or anything. That's just something.
Because I had heard a couple weeks back that there was going to be another app that people could add.
So there is an app that already exists and has existed for a few years now called Move It. Move It is another alternative to transit app.
Mhm.
because Transit app recently started charging their riders for like additional features that used to be free. And so Move It is just something that we kind of put out there so riders know that it's another option. for
Yeah,
trip planning.
because I've had most of my reliability catching the one with the S shape on it. It's
The Transit
light
app one,
green.
yeah.
Uh-huh. And then the other thing, when people be talking about the bus is late and it's because of the driver, it's not that way all the time. When you ride the bus, you got customers. If you run into 5 customers that you're picking up and they're digging in their pocket for change when you get there, and you got 2 other people in line, they're trying to dig out their change, and then you make the next 5-10 stops and everybody digging for their change, it's not the driver's fault that the bus is late. And then you also have traffic problems. And then you got the people on the bus, they cutting up, and the driver has to take his attention, slow the bus down to get their attention so he can keep on driving, But it's not always the driver's fault, driving the bus.
Right.
I just want to get that out there.
Definitely. And it's a balance, right? Like on-time performance is important, but it's also not the most important thing. Like we want drivers to be safe out there on the roads.
Safely. Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think
Sandy,
safety
you're in the queue.
is the key.
Oh,
Come on,
go ahead.
Sandy.
All right. Sandy, you're in the queue.
Oh, we can't hear you.
I'm so happy about this conversation today. Because I experienced just the other day a driver speeding like a bat out of hell down Livingston Street, coming off of Victoria. I was at the bus stop right there where you can look at the hospital. And he took that curve to make a left on Livingston. And I thought he was going to fly by me to begin with. So I put the bus and I was like, you're a little bit too fast. And he didn't say anything. And then there's been construction on Livingston because of putting in pipes and everything. He kept barreling down Livingston, hitting those. And it's just like, if something comes out of the road, it'll be pretty. And we got back to the station and I asked him point blank, I said, why were you driving so fast? And his response to me was, I wasn't speeding. But the fact is that you cannot drive a bus like a car. It's just the way to do it that way. I'd like somebody to get some information to some of the drivers that are doing that. Then you bring up the incentive part. And someone told me that a couple of years ago, and I didn't believe it, but now I know it's true. So with that, it's great to give that to drivers, but they may be speeding like that to get an incentive. For much that it is, for what amount of time, to get beyond on-time performance, that's great and everything. But how are they getting that done? Because I was upset the other day. I was scared because he kept barreling down Livingston. All right. And I asked him 3 different times if he would please slow down, and he did not. And I have written a complaint for him, and I will share that with everyone. And that's all I have to say about that.
LaShawn is in the queue.
Sandy,
Go
when
ahead.
you run into these issues, if you don't mind, just shoot me an email so that I can take care of that. I'm able to be able to view the speed from the buses as well from video.
Well, that's what he said. He wasn't speeding, but it's not all about the speeding. It's, how you're driving a bus compared to a car. And he's not the first one that I've experienced that with, but he's the one that I've experienced the most speed doing it, going down that hill. And I will be sure to get his name so I can email you this.
Yeah,
Okay.
even if you don't get the name, you can just give me the time and the route and I can look for the rest of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a question for LaShawn. Don't we still have Smart Drive on the buses?
It's now Lytics.
Lytics,
Mm-hmm.
but it still serves the same purpose.
Yes.
And the other thing is this: if you're on the bus, well, if I'm on the bus, whenever I have a problem, I've got a number I can call, and I'm on transit. You can let dispatch know, or you can let staff know. You don't have to go through all those changes as far as just report it. That's all I have to say. Amber, you had the queue.
Yes, I wanted to thank Summer. I know Summer is on her kids are about ready to probably come through the door. Does anybody have any additional questions from Summer? I really appreciate some of these stats. We can talk about our on-time performance, but we have been making improvements. The input from this session has been great, and we can continue the discussion. I just want to know and thank Summer for being here, and also ask if anybody has any additional questions of Summer.
No, I'll have some more, but I'll ask Haley.
Yeah, I mean,
know
you
she has
you
to
can-
get to the kids.
you can pass on anything, Haley or Catherine. Just a quick note, Colin, I think it was Colin's point about drivers maybe feeling like they have to, feeling pressure if they are running late. Very valid, and I said I don't have the visual here, but what it looks like in onboard app, and LaShawn, you would know this better, but when they are running late, this circle shows up as gray, so it's not supposed to draw attention to it. If drivers are running late, there's not much they can do. When they're running early, it will show as pink. So the idea is, if you are approaching a time point and you see you're running early, to maybe hold at that time point, so to prevent those early departures, so that customers aren't missing the bus when they may be getting to the bus stop right on time and the bus shows up early. It's to encourage drivers to hold at those time points. But as far as the late, if they're running late, we don't expect, Swiftly doesn't expect drivers to have to speed. You cannot do anything if you're running late, really. So just as far as how it shows up in the onboard app, it just shows up as gray. So it's not meant to be distracting. It's not really meant to draw operator, attention to that issue. So I just wanted to point that out about how it looks. Very, very valid thing to bring up, though, Colin. And as far as the transit app, it's without knowing exactly what's going on with that bus, where it looks like it's falling off the map, or it's dropping off the map. That could be an issue where the GPS, where there's just a loss of GPS. But again, if you are encountering these issues, please pass on as much information as you can. Swiftly has a partnership with Transit App, so we have a pretty easy way to contact them and to pass on feedback and issues. So that would be a great help to us, and I think would just make the communication to passengers that much better if we're able to figure out what's going on. So I really appreciate, Amber. Thank you for the introduction, and yes, please feel free to pass on any questions. I can try to address them later, but I hope everyone has a great night.
Thanks,
Thank
Summer.
you.
Thank you, Summer.
Okay, Sandy was in the queue.
Hello again, Harvey. I do report things when they happen on the bus. When I tell someone at the station, it doesn't necessarily make the route that it should. Okay, and I know we have differences of opinion and everything. And so I'm going to keep doing things my way. you keep doing things your way, I think it'll work perfectly.
Thank you, Sandy. Are there any more questions about the Swiftly? Yeah, I have one more, but Swiftly is an app,
Well,
or is it an
Swiftly is a
aid?
software, meaning it's like a planning tool that staff is using. There's not an app for people to download, but there is a web browser which is public facing, and it allows people to look at the live information of where the buses are, and kind of use as a trip planning tool. But that's not an app that you can download on your mobile phone or anything.
That's what we have on our website. If you look at the routes, am I correct, Haley? And that's,
Yes, on our
that's
maps
the
and schedules.
predictions.
Yep, exactly.
So that's something mainly that y'all using.
Exactly.
And you can go onto the website and look at the predictions as well. You can see the little bus, the little dot moving on the route.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Brandon, for joining us. If there are not any more questions, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. And committee membership and terms, Amber.
Here, I have, let's see, I've got just a slide that has the roster. Let's see if I can find it. Right there. Do you guys see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This has the current member, their email and their term, and the participation in the past 12 months. I think it has all the members on here. There's Brandon, there's Harvey. And this was discussed at our last meeting, and I just wanted to give this information, this terms, and the membership will note that some haven't been on board for a full year. So their participation is based on the number of meetings they've attended since the term started. In the past 12 months, the committee has held 6 formal meetings and 1 field trip. Not included in these numbers is the field trip and participation. We had a discussion in terms of what term dates are with the committee last meeting, and I just wanted to bring this up so you all had the information in front of you. The terms, there is an orientation packet that I believe there's been some inconsistency in terms of when that has been distributed during COVID. So we will do a better job of onboarding and educating our committee members, and we'll work with the chair to provide current and new members education and information. But in terms of participation, the attendance policy is the failure of any committee member to attend 75% or more of the meetings of the committee held during a 12-month period, unless excused, may be grounds for removal. Removal is members of the committee may be removed at the discretion of the Multimodal Transportation Committee. And the term of office is appointed for 3-year terms or until the member's successor is duly appointed and qualified. Vacancies occurring shall be filled by the Multimodal Committee for the unexpired term. Members may serve up to 2 consecutive full terms. We currently do have 1 member that term has expired. This is the information I just wanted to provide with you all today for your committee discussion.
Okay. We would have to find out from that member, does she want to join for another 3 years, right?
I believe so, yes.
And then we would necessarily have to I don't know what will be the proper procedure. Well, we need to ask Georgia first.
Yeah, I think, and then the
Georgia?
committee can send a reappointment to the multimodal.
Mhm. Georgia, are you still online? Georgia, are you still on the line?
Yes.
Do you want to extend your membership for another 3 years?
Do I want to? Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Georgia. The committee would have to take a vote on that.
I believe there would need to be a recommendation to send the reappointment to the multimodal
All right.
committee.
All right. May I have a motion for a recommendation to accept Georgia for another 3 years?
So moved.
May I have a second?
I second that.
Brandon seconds it. We'll have a vote. Sandy? Yay or nay?
Yay.
Georgia?
Yes.
Colin?
Yay.
Brandon?
Yay.
And it's just so passed, and we'll send that, staff, would you please send that to multimodal for Georgia to be on the committee for another 3 years, please?
We will send that to the multimodal committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber. All right. If there's nothing else from staff on the committee membership and terms, we'll go on to old business art service updates, the WE1, the update on that. Full service restored on WE1 effective November the 1st, 2022. Haley?
I think that is the update that we've returned to full service.
I knew
And
you were
we'll-
gonna say something like that. You need
We are excited to have the service back up and the frequency. We want to thank Barry, LaShawn, and their team for being able to get that up before the holidays. So hopefully you're seeing the benefits of that service frequency again.
It
Yes,
sounds
that
like
was
we're
that was really good. I really
Yeah.
love that. When I saw that bus behind me last week, I said, "What's it doing back there? It's not running." I said, "I got to call somebody." So I did. I found out we're running again. And then I had to reassure myself, "Dispatch, are we doing this?" "Yes, we are doing that." I said, "All right." Yes, that's good. Especially the holidays are coming up, and there's a lot of service on the WE1. Okay, moving on to BBT JE presentation follow-up. Staff will provide the updates for the signage.
you want me
I
to
guess
take
I'll
this
call on Haley again.
number?
Sure, if you'd like, you can give a status of the sign and some of the efforts and what we're doing
Okay.
with Carmen's group.
Yeah, sure. So one of the main things that Carmen's group brought up, Better Buses Together brought up, was the digital signage at the transit center, which we were very well aware of that issue and had been working on getting it resolved for months. And we can say that it is now fully resolved as far as today, we think that it's all been resolved. If any issues do come up, please reach out to us, but that should be taken care of now. Another thing that Better Buses Together brought up was another issue that we were also actively working on, which was some of the head signs within the bus not showing accurate information, not showing information at all. So for example, not announcing what the next stop would be, not announcing that through audio, or not showing it on the sign. That's something that we have been aware of, that some of the buses are not showing that information. So something that we are doing and that we have invited them to do with us is going for rides on every single bus and just making a note of some of the conditions of that bus, including whether or not the head signs and the audio announcements are working. And we've also reemphasized the policy to drivers that if the audio announcement is not working, that they should be announcing those manually. I think those are some of the main things that they brought up in their presentation, but we're going to continue meeting with them and following up on any other items that were brought up as well.
Okay. Does that include the like on every bus there used to be pamphlets for the different buses, adding those to the bus once again?
Our decision has been not to add those again. We have the pamphlets and the maps available at the transit station itself, but from our experience in the past, the result of having those on every bus was just that the buses would get littered with people leaving maps everywhere, and it didn't seem like the most effective way for that information to be shared.
And my last question, the eastbound and westbound side, have you given any thought to the making the little bitty signs for the eastbound and westbound bigger?
At the transit station, we did look at it. I would say that's as far as we got with that. I don't know what more we could do in making that sign.
Make the sign bigger.
The pole's only so big, and it's a sticker, but
it's so big, it's like this big.
Yeah.
It's hard for people to read them.
Yeah.
I was just saying.
No, we can take another look at that.
Yeah, we can take another look.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions concerning the signage?
We are working with LaShawn and Barry's team just to make sure that we continually monitor those signs. There were issues that we had to like restart a breaker. So there's some items that we work collaboratively on. LaShawn is working and Barry on a list also with head signs, and we're going to be meeting with the manufacturer and the support vendor for the head signs to get kind of some follow-up tasks that need to be done in terms of addressing and fixing the head sign issue and the audio.
Okay, thank you. And if there's nothing else, we'll be moving on to Transit Committee member updates and rider experiences. Once again, I asked all my committee members to ride the bus, talk to the drivers, try to talk to some of the passengers, get a better experience out of your ride whenever you do ride the bus. And now, if anyone has any comments for the transit member updates. Sandy has her hand raised in the queue.
Thank you, Harvey. I wanted to give a shout out to Ian, who is the Ukrainian drivers. there was a guy that got on at Western Rescue the other day, and he was kind of out of sorts. And Ian was really sweet and calmed him down and helped him his way. And he did a super special job with his heart. So I do appreciate that for Ian.
Thank you, Sandy. Is there anyone else? Oh, you know I got something. Last week, I met the sweetest lady that works at Transit. I didn't even know she worked there. And she also works at the Justice Center downtown, the courthouse. And she does all the dirty work at Transit. Her name is Peggy. And she was the most nice person I ever met. She does the because the bathroom on the men's side was closed, and she was ushering all the other people that had to use the bathroom, men and women, into the ladies' bathroom, you know, as much as she could. 2 at a time, women, 1 at a time if it was a man, and she got them in and out of the stalls as necessary. And I asked her, I said, what was wrong with the men's bathroom? She said, it's just something I'd rather not discuss, but it's always disgusting every week. But anyway, she said she was waiting. I think she was waiting on a shovel or something. But anyway, she was waiting. She wasn't walking back up in there again. And it was that disgusting. But she was waiting on some help. But she I got on the she got me in the bathroom as well, and I took the W5 out, and when I came back in, both the bathrooms, they were open, and she wasn't in there, but Peggy, she was like the sweetest lady I ever met. She even took her little plastic gloves off because I was talking to her so she could shake my hand. She was just so nice to meet. She's so glad to meet me. And I appreciated her. And also, I'd like to give a shout out to Dee, and I'd like to give a shout out to Charlene. Those drivers, they are par excellence. And you can always find something good in a rider's experience. All you have to do is ride the bus and be willing to open your mouth in a nice way. Thank you. Colin is in the queue.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to, don't know what the bus driver's name is. I never noticed that they have name tags on, so I don't know their names. But this is the driver who does N1 at, I guess, the 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. route. But there's been a young lady that's been riding the bus a couple times in the morning, and I'm assuming she's a recent immigrant from some Eastern European country because she has a very strong accent. And she arrived with her bike, and he actually stopped, got off, helped her get her bike onto the bike rack. And then when we got to her stop, he went off and got her bike off the bike rack and was very, very helpful in getting her on and off the bus and on her way. So,
sorry, we got some gentlemen out there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cola. I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Colin.
That's what I'm talking about, those rider experiences. I love it. I love it. Are there any more? This will be on staff departmental update, city staff.
Attached to the memo or attached to the agenda, you'll see the memo. Hopefully you've reviewed it all in terms of we're working on the new 24 budget, our procurement status. The 4 vehicles in Florida are in the process of being inspected, and we're waiting for results from that inspection. I think there may be some issues that they have to go back and do some finish work. I'm waiting for the inspector to give us some information The rest of the vehicles, the Gilligs are still on projected production. We have our upcoming annual transit grant program call for projects from the MPO. We will be working on our annual application. That is for funding for 170 as well as for our city paratransit services. It's annual funding that we utilize each year from the MPO based on this call of 5310 and 5307 JARC. Couple more items. We put out on the public information portal that we are moving a stop on W1 for safety and access. There were no issues, so we will be proceeding with moving that stop. It's bus stop 286. Those are the committee updates, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
Okay. Amber, I know those batteries are $1. How much are those batteries a piece? I think I wrote down 80,000,
Yeah,
8,000 or something like that, or better.
that's right.
That's $1. Okay. That was about it for me on that. What's the transit fair technology project update?
That's the FAIR implementation study for it's giving us alternatives for fare collection there'll be there's multiple alternatives right now. We're looking at costs as well as peer agencies that are using some of the technologies. The IBI group is going to be presenting those in the next week or two. And then we'll be reaching out to peers to see, what's practical, what are some of the identified alternatives that might possibly work budgetary for Asheville. But that we will be bringing to the committee, I would say in the next month or two, probably when they get those kind of solidified on which would be the ideal alternatives.
Okay, was that company out of DC?
Yes, it's NCAT through CTA. There's all sorts of acronyms within that.
Yeah,
it's phase 2.
Harvey, when we met previously with the transit committee and with Better Buses Together, they were working with a consultant called Hatch, but we have since moved to a new consultant. We're not working with Hatch anymore. We're working with a group called IBI.
Okay. All right. Then we'll go operation updates. Staff like to say anything about those?
All the attachments are there. If you have any questions, does anyone have any questions about the attached?
Okay. All right. If there are no other questions for this evening, I say we adjourn. And everybody have a good evening. And thank y'all all for coming.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. We'll see you in December.
Thank you.
Yes, we will.
Thank you.